Hi, I'm Diane Ladd, and if you're new to my channel, I make videos talking about how I have reversed nearly 100% of the symptoms that I used to have of multiple sclerosis by following a ketogenic metabolic diet, otherwise known as the carnivore diet. Recently, 2 weeks ago, I was asked to speak at the Boston meetup. I'd like to give a very big shout out to Dr. Robert Kiltz and Carrie Mann from Healing Humanity. I was invited to share my inspirational story with the audience at the Boston meetup. Something that's just a little bit funny is 50% of the people that watch my videos have not subscribed to my channel. So if you're one of those folks that is listening right now and would like to get more videos from me, it really helps me if you were to hit the subscribe button. I won't contact you. It's free. It just makes it better for me to be able to produce more content for you. So if you would like more content, more information about the ketogenic metabolic diet and how it helps those with autoimmune disease, hit subscribe, hit like, and put a comment. Tell me who you are, where you're from, what are you trying to heal, what is your why? Why do you want to follow this diet? All that just takes a couple of minutes, and it surely helps me to be able to produce more videos such as this one. So, without further ado, I would like to present to you my inspirational story that I told at the Boston meetup. Thank you. I know I've been talking to a lot of you, asking yourselves, and then you ask about me, and I say, you'll hear it. I'm going to tell you all. So it doesn't start out so hot. In 2016, a doctor told me, you have multiple sclerosis. And at the time, I was just 50 years old. I had just graduated from Boston College, was starting the next part of my life. My children were grown, our children were grown. And I was starting that next stage where I wanted to open my own practice. I wanted to be a mental health therapist and help other people. So I started feeling a little strange. I was in my last semester at BC, and I started getting like this little slurred speech that would come on intermittently. I didn't know what that was all about. So I went to the doctor, and he didn't see it. And then other symptoms started coming up. I started getting dizzy. I started getting weak. I started getting feelings like I was flying in an airplane when I was driving in a car. It was just like this unreal sensation. It's a lot of sensory things going on. And went from doctor to doctor, test to test to test. And it was an eye doctor at the very end that told me, you have multiple sclerosis. And it just, this morning, hearing the doctors talk, hearing Dr. Seyfried and all the good doctors here about their patients, it started me thinking, how many times have they had to tell a patient such devastating news? Because I remember for myself, looking at the doctor and looking her in her eyes and just knowing that it pained her to tell me that my life was going to change. And then me having to tell my husband that our life was going to change. And telling my children and my friends and my relatives that this was going to be the life for me. Because it wasn't good, folks. It wasn't good news at all. The disease is incurable, and it's progressive. And it's an autoimmune disease, which really kind of blew my mind because my body, my immune system, was attacking my own brain. What? Why would I do that? Why would I attack myself? If I had a choice, I wouldn't do it, right? But the whole thing is the idea of how our life was going to be, at that split moment, changed. You have multiple sclerosis. It's incurable. Your body's attacking your brain. Your myelin sheath, which is kind of like a plastic covering of an electrical cord, you plug in your lamp, that's all frayed. So the information from one neuron to the other neuron is not going through. There's a break. So the doctor says what that can mean is perhaps you'll go blind, perhaps you'll go deaf, perhaps you'll be in a wheelchair, but it's all the unknown. And I mean, I was feeling not so good at the time, but it was the idea of what is going to happen in the future. What is that future going to be? So I just went on, right? We went on. And I graduated from college. I started my practice. I was just going strong. I was, I wasn't going to give in. I was going to fight this thing, right? And all the while, the fatigue started coming on until August of 2022. I couldn't do it anymore, folks. We had just gone through that time where most clinicians, doctors had to go online, and I was right there with them, seeing my patients online. And I couldn't hear, and it's so sad because the stories are what I love, I couldn't hear another story. I couldn't hear someone talking about what they were so deeply troubled about because I just didn't have the energy anymore. The fatigue was coming on so strong, and the brain fog, I got to the point where I was, okay, I have to take a sabbatical because I have to always be of service to my patient. I have to be, I have to be there for them. And if I'm not there for them, I've got to take a break, step back, and just take I thought it was going to be a couple of weeks off. So I told all my patients, I'm taking a couple of weeks off. A couple of weeks turned into a couple of years. So yeah, it's been almost 3 years. Then I had to close my practice. I had to find clinicians for all my clients. And then I was home. I'm home on the recliner. Can't read because my vision's getting worse. Can't really pay attention to much. So I just really prayed. I said, God, please take this MS from me. And he sent me this Australian doctor, ladies, who told me plants are trying to kill you. Next, he sent me a homesteader from Wisconsin who smokes meat, raises goats, chickens, and triplets plus one, and claims that he's healing humanity with a proper human diet. Do you guys know him? Next, and finally, last but not least, he sent me a reformed gang member from East LA, a spear-carrying carnivore who leads a mighty tribe and who is a fertility doctor? Really, God? I don't even have a uterus. So that's who I got, and many others. You all know them. And what I learned was completely opposite to every single thing that I've ever learned about health and nutrition. You see, I wasn't following a standard American diet. I was following a standard American dieter's diet, right? You know that diet, the one that you don't eat anything and you just, that you eat like toast and cottage cheese and a little bit of salad and that's it. So I thought I was eating healthy, and then I found out I really wasn't. And it started to make sense to me. So, was I going to start this thing? Because I really thought carnivore was crazy. That's where I began. And I tried it. I tried it for 30 days. So in 3 weeks, my fatigue lifted, my brain fog parted. In 3 months, my urinary incontinence was gone, my heat sensitivity was gone. In 5 months, I just was developing so much strength. I was going to the gym every day, 3 times a week. I was walking 2 miles a day. And in 10 months, I went to my neurologist. And you all know what it's like going to a doctor, being a carnivore, and trying to tell them about the carnivore diet, because it's very, very scary. So, I did a lot of praying. I did a lot of role play in my brain, and I got in there. And so I don't know if anyone sees a neurologist, but when you go to a neurologist for MS, what they do is a sobriety test, basically. And you stand, and they tell you to touch your nose with each finger, stand on each leg. They test your reflexes. And so as she's doing this clinical exam, I'm telling her about what I've been doing. And I really was conscious about prefacing it in a way that would make her feel comfortable. And I said, Doc, I've been following this diet. It's a ketogenic metabolic diet. I didn't say carnivore, because I know that. And I didn't say at first, I only eat meat. Not until she asked me. And I said, and what I notice is I'm feeling my fatigue is getting better, my brain fog's going away, my heat sensitivity is gone, my balance is better. And then I'm talking about it, and she sees me. She sees that my balance is better. She's like, you can tell the look on her face, she's like, what? And she's telling me to do all this stuff. And the final thing that was this is my favorite story in the world, is I used to hate this one part of the exam. It was walking heel to toe all the way across the room, because I couldn't do it. From the time I was diagnosed with MS, I would waver, wobble, and fall over, and it was so very embarrassing. So she did. She said, okay, now walk heel to toe. And I walked heel to toe all the way across the room with perfect balance. Yep. And I could see the look on her face. So she stopped. She went to her desk. She looked at the computer. She was looking at the last 6-month exam to see how I was compared to it. And she turned around to me and she said, what do you want to do? Never expected that question. I said, about what? She said, well, do you want to get your Ocrevus infusion? And I was thinking, this was never an option before. And I said, well, can we wait 6 months and reassess and talk about it then? She said, yep, absolutely. I see no reason why we shouldn't wait. So she said, I'd like you to get the MRI, and we can absolutely wait for 6 months to talk about this again. So we did, and I got the MRI, and the MRI showed no active lesions, no active disease. Yeah, so I was very, very excited about that. So I have to tell you, 3 weeks ago, on June 3rd, was the 6-month follow-up from the December. And I walked in, and she's like, how's it going with the diet? I said, it's going great. Same exam. Yeah, you're doing good. I don't see that this MS is affecting you negatively in any way anymore. So let's assess in another 6 months. I'm like, all right, let's do that. So once a year, MRI, reassess every 6 months. And that's the way it's going to go for a while anyway. So I'm very, very happy about that. And I'm very grateful to these people on YouTube that I found that have told me that I can eat this way. It's just a remarkable change to my life. as you all probably know. So I just want to say, you all have your story to tell. Us up here, we're talking. We're doing our part. Now it's up to you. I would love it if you could start your own YouTube channel, if you could start talking to your doctor, talking to your neighbor, talking to your friends. Tell everybody that this is the way you are eating, that this is the way you're living, and this is how we are all supposed to live. Because when we use our collective carnivore voice, there is no stopping us, and we will heal humanity.